and I am sitting in this morning for, hopefully temporarily, for our chair, Judge Paige Whitaker. So I'm gonna call this meeting to order. It is currently 10:02. The first thing I will need to do is approve the minutes for attendance and approval. First of all, let's do attendance. I want to, so we know who all's here.
And I'll just remind really quick before we go into attendance, I'll just give a few reminders about the meeting decorum so that everyone is aware of how we want to conduct the meetings. First of all, for everyone who is on the Zoom right now, if you're not a speaker, please mute your device, your computer or your phone, whatever device you're joining us on. Please mute that device. Also, during the meeting, the discussion periods are only for commission meeting members. So please do not refrain from making any comment or engaging in the discussion during the meeting, except for the public comment period. If you would like to make a comment on any of the agenda items that are covered today or any of the observations you see today, and you have a desire to make public comment, there is a form that you can, or there's an email address that you should send your your request to, and we will make a list of those who are wishing to make public comment. And at that appropriate time, you will be called on to make your comment. And we'll give further instruction about the public comment period at that time. So just in the meantime, please, everybody, please stay on mute so we can limit distractions during the meeting. Go ahead, Peggy.
Okay, well, I'm trying to get my agenda where I can read it, but give me just one more second. I'm going to put it back up to the original size and we'll work down at the end. So again, I want to welcome everyone to our meeting today. It is March 10th, 2023. And I do have a little quote for the morning. This is something that sits on my desk every day in my little office in my home. And it's from Psalms 149:8. And it says, "Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love, for I have put my trust in you." So hopefully we can all follow that today, and it will be a good day for all. So the minutes have been sent out to everyone, and we just need to know that if you read them, and we would like to ask for a motion to approve the September 2022 meeting minutes and the December 2022 meeting minutes.
So moved, Judge Bishop.
Okay, Judge Bishop, thank you. Is there a second?
This is a second. This is Judge Kite.
Thank you, Judge Bishop and Judge Kite. It's good to hear y'all. I hope all
Recording
is well.
in progress.
Hold on a second. I'd like to take a vote. Does everybody approve? If you say approve, just hit in the chat, please. Okay. I keep losing y'all somehow or another. Okay, does anybody have any comments or nays? I'm still don't have all the approvals. There we go. Okay. Trying to think of how many people we have. April is 14.
We currently have 15 commission members present.
Yep, so there is a quorum. And if you're not a commission member, remember, you do not vote. We are taking Jacqueline Bunn, we are taking attendance. So we're not going to do a roll call of the commission members, just for the sake of time. So we have a staff member that takes attendance and notes the commission members present. So remember, if you're not a commission member, you would not to vote in the chat or verbally. Thanks.
Can you give me the agenda back, please? Jamila, could you possibly give me back the agenda?
She's putting it up.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. I tried my best to print it.
And did we, was that a vote of the September or the December? Because remember, we did not have a vote on the December, the September meeting minutes at the December meeting. So which
I
minute?
actually did both. I did both at the same
one?
time.
Okay, all right, good job, good deal.
Okay. All right, well, that brings us to our conference update. And I know Jamila has got some really great things to tell us. Jamila?
Let me unmute. Sorry, I was multitasking.
There you go.
Let me pull that up. So we're doing the commission meeting, conference committee report.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, just 1 minute. I lost it for a minute. So the conference is scheduled for September 17th through the 20th in Jekyll Island. And the theme of this year's conference is evolving responses, what communities can do to reduce family violence. Registration will go out in May. We're currently finalizing the keynote speakers for the conference, and they will be announced soon. This year, we will have 4 keynote presentations, so it'll be a little different than what we've done in the past with the 3 keynotes in the morning. I think on Tuesday, we're going to have an additional keynote presentation opposed to like a set of workshops, so that'll be a little different. We did the request for proposals. The proposals closed on February the 17th. And we have 39 proposals. So we're looking forward to going through those and selecting the conference workshops. The conference planning committee has been finalized, and we will be meeting within the next couple of weeks to decide those which workshops will be selected. We will be applying for scholarships this year through CJCC, the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, the Administrative Office of the Courts Judicial Council, AOC, and the Department of Community Supervision, DCS. GCFV will provide scholarships to 15 FIP providers and facilitator trainees. And the application period for those scholarships will open in April. We will also be doing the nominations for our conference awards, and that will open also in April. And registration will open in May, and the early bird registration fee is $325. So that concludes my report for the Conference Planning Committee.
Thank you, Jamila. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Where is the
So
conference
we'll
going to
move on
be?
to the next item.
It's going to be,
Cynthia?
the conference is going to be in Jekyll Island at the Jekyll Island Convention Center.
Thanks, Jamila.
You're welcome.
Are there any more questions or comments? Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Jamila, if you could pop that up for me, please.
So I think that's the legislative report. And yes. I did not get this, so I will go on and give that report. I did not get a full briefing to the legislative committee in advance of the meeting. So it's been a very, very busy session. And so there's lots going on. I'll do a quick rundown as much as possible. So, and if you have questions about what are we doing in any of these areas or what's our involvement, please feel free to ask those once I complete the report. So I'll just basically provide, I'm going to give a rundown of 2 things in this report. What you're going to hear is generally any bills that are moving or that were filed this year that we believe were worth noting or were of interest in terms of whether it's the content of the bill or the subject matter or the issue that it seeks to amend or resolve or create. So, and then the other ones are the ones that are specific to us or in the family violence area and that we are actively working on. So I'll indicate which one as I go. HB 194. This is a bill that was filed by Representative Hutchinson and the title of the bill is the Undocumented Persons Family Violence Protection Act. And so it's looking to provide changes in the definitions of persons who are considered victims of domestic violence and allow for certain protections for undocumented persons experiencing family violence. This bill did not get voted out of committee this year, so it is still live because this is the first year of the biennium, but it is not moving forward this year. The next one is HB 382, and this is actually related to this is about restorative justice programs. And so this bill will create a privilege for people who participate, offenders who participate in victim-centered programs or restorative justice programs, so that anything that they say, speaking with the victims or family members of victims or survivors, won't become evidence that can be used against them because they participated in restorative justice, with the goal being to incentivize and open the door to these kind of programs in Georgia, because there's not currently a lot of restorative justice programs, but they would like, there's obviously some desire for those to come around. So, and this is sponsored by Representative Anolowitz. It did not get, well, it was voted out of committee, but it did not get a vote of the voted out of the House. And so it again is still a live bill and will move into the next session, but it's not going forward this year. Actually, though, I have been in conversation with the team that is working on this bill with Representative Anolowitz, and they're not completely giving up hope this year. They're actually looking for another vehicle, essentially another bill to attach this one to see if it will still move. So it's not completely a done deal so far, and they've got some folks that they have lined up for conversations. The next one is HB 509, and this is actually our commission member Representative Ballinger's bill, and this will create the offense of a family violence burglary, so that if you are an intimate partner and you break into your other intimate partner or former intimate partner or spouse's home, with or without the intent to commit further offense, but just, unwanted entry into that home, you would now be charged with the offense of a family violence burglary. So that's what this would create. And it is the language creating the relationships, or which relationships qualify to trigger this offense, are very narrowly tailored in this bill. And so there was some debate about that in session, but it did get favorably voted out of committee, and it was voted and approved by the House. So it is now on the Senate side and waiting for a hearing. And it is in the, actually, I apologize, it just had a hearing yesterday, sorry. And it did get voted favorably out of the Senate committee, the Children and Families Committee. So that one is still moving forward. So it'll be heading to the Rules Committee now. The next one is HB 553, and this is one of many firearms bills that were filed this year to create certain protections, risk protection orders to restrict possession of firearms. As you probably can guess, it did not get voted out of committee, so this one is still sitting in the House right now and not moving forward this year. The next bill is HB 560. This is another firearms related bill and did not get voted out of the House this year. The next one is HB 584. This is a Red Flag Protective Order Act. Also, this one did not get voted out of the House this year. The next bill is the Georgia Dangerous Sexual Predator Prevention Act, and this is just one we're sort of keeping an eye on. This is from Representative Sains. This is HB 188, sorry, HB 188. And this one did get voted out of the House. And so it is now assigned to the Public Safety Committee on the Senate side and is awaiting a hearing. The next bill is HB 365. This is the Sexual Assault Reform Act of 2023. And it would seek to create a statewide sexual assault kit tracking system. I know that you've probably heard about lots of issues with backups and a backlog on testing of rape kits or sexual assault kits, and you know, a lot of efforts to try to fix that. This is Representative Holcomb's bill, and so that was the goal for this bill. It did not get voted out of the House this year. So it is sitting and waiting in the Judiciary Non-Civil Committee. The next bill is SB 12. This is Senator Albert's bill. This is a comeback from last session. And the title of the bill is Protecting Victims and Dismantling Georgia Street Gangs Act. This bill does a lot of things. It's primarily aimed at curbing street gang violence, but it also has some significant measures in there that will impact survivors of family violence. So one of the things it does, and we've talked about this bill before, but one of the things it does is create a presumption of admissibility for evidence of history, domestic violence history, in the event of any court cases, civil or criminal. And the other thing it does is creates an offense called a forcible felony, or offense category, I should say, called a forcible felony or domestic violence felony. And it will create a mandatory minimum for felony offenders only. It does not open the door to misdemeanor offenses, but felony offenders only who are charged and convicted of a family violence offense. If they have a previous family violence felony conviction, they would then be subject to a 5-year mandatory minimum sentence for a new family violence act if they are found in possession of a firearm during the commission of that act. So that's pretty significant. The other bill is SB 119. This is another firearms related bill to create the offense of or to restrict possession of firearms for people convicted of misdemeanor family violence offenses. As you can guess, this is Senator Parent's bill. This one did not move forward from the Senate this year. The next one is SB 182, and this is a stalking related bill, but it's aimed at attacking conduct online called doxxing. And doxxing, if you're not familiar with that term, is a form of retaliation that's happening to people online where a troller, I call them trolls, a troller or stalker or person gets and finds personal information about someone, whoever the subject or target is, and they then post that information, like your address, your cell phone number, maybe even pictures of your kids and your family and their names. They post that online to the public, and then they sort of attack you and then encourage others to attack you personally. And it's been a pretty significant growing issue online. And so this bill would seek to make that an offense. And it did get voted out of committee, but it was tabled at the Senate and did not go forward. But there's still conversations, as I understand, about moving this bill into something else or bringing it back next year. The next bill is HB 302. I told y'all there were a lot. And this is creating the issuance of a temporary protective order by the court. And this is Representative Franklin's bill. It actually was voted out of the House and is now awaiting a hearing in the Senate Judiciary Committee. The next bill is HB 508. This is another bill from Representative Ballinger, our commission member. And this is to create a requirement that protective orders and any criminal orders of the court that require, restraining or prohibiting contact with a survivor of family violence, or I guess with anyone that is subject to the order, that order be served by the sheriffs or the police within 24 hours of the court issuing that order. So it would provide for a 24-hour period. Every effort should be made to make an attempt to serve within the first 24 hours of that order. And that is, that one was voted favorably out of the House and is now awaiting a hearing at the Senate Judiciary Committee. And the next bill is SB 83. And this is a stalking bill from Commission Member Senator Jackson. And this would essentially provide for the ability to sorry, wait a minute. This one. It was initially supposed to remove stalking, the ability to stalk someone in the defendant's home. But they essentially, they watered it down a bit, and it's, forgive me, having a brain clog at the moment, but I forgot what the change was at the last moment to reduce it to. But at any rate, it creates that it strengthens the stalking protective order category, essentially, OCGA 16594. And this one did get voted out of the Senate. And so now it is on the House side. It's going to be in judiciary non-civil. And so it is awaiting a hearing. And Senator Jackson has been working on this bill and negotiating on language for a while. So, and PAC has been working with her directly on this. And then two areas that we are, thank you, Nikki. Yep, thank you. So Nikki just put that in the chat. So it does provide grounds for a protective order if there's conduct in the person's home. The next bill creates the offense, or the next legislative item that we are actively working on is something that sort of came up at the last minute in the course of our work this session. It was brought to our attention by Joan Pretty at Project Safe and Georgia Legal Services, but this bill creates the criminal offense of the violation of a dating violence protective order. And this is really a fix from when we passed the dating violence protective order bill 2 years ago. We did not amend the criminal code section so that a violation of a dating violence protective order would be subject to either criminal offenses or a civil contempt order. So we would just be amending that code section. I think it's 1610. Oh, well, forgive me, I'll get the code section, but it will amend that code section, which is the offense of a family violence protective order, to include a dating violence protective order. And the last one that we are actively working on, and that one does not yet have a bill number, but I understand that Representative Crawford is going to sponsor it with Representative Gaines, also working with him on it, and they are looking for a vehicle to attach it to. We've been in conversations with a couple of folks, and we hope to get it attached so that it can move this year. Otherwise, we're going to move it next session. And the main reason it didn't go forward is just because time ran out by the time it was brought to our attention and we were able to get a sponsor. And then the last one is the 48-hour HIV testing for pretrial defendants. We've talked about this one in previous meetings as well. And this is the one that is basically trying to amend Georgia's current law to bring that time down. I think right now our statute says within 45 days, but bring it down to 48 hours. And the reason we're working on this, it's a little bit out of our normal bailiwick, but we're working on it because of a condition on our new grant that requires your state law to have a 48-hour limit of time for when a victim of a sexual assault offense that may involve the exchange of bodily fluids, if that victim wants that person tested, it would limit that time that it needs to happen within 48 hours of that person being indicted, once they have an arrest and get an indictment. So that is all of our legislative items and where we are in terms of working with them. And that one, again, was late, kind of late in the session. We have a sponsor for it. Senator Doc Rett and Senator Brian Strickland, our commission member, is going to sponsor it with him. And so we're in conversations, but it will most likely, it'll get filed and get a bill number this year, but it will not really move forward until next year, more than likely. So that is all of the legislative items that we're keeping track of. And if there are any questions or comments, I will entertain those for you. All right, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, April. Sounds like you've been pretty busy at the Capitol this year. It's been,
Indeed.
I'm kind of excited because we've got a lot more going on than we have in the past several years. So keep up the good work. Okay, we're now at our community spotlight. Elizabeth Baines, the program coordinator for Atlanta VA Health System, and her program is an intimate partner violence assistance program. So I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth.
Thank you. And I appreciate your assistance, Jamila, on getting my slides up. I appreciate the audience. The VA has a lot of exciting things going on here, and I am stationed at the Atlanta VA. But part of what I understand is that not everybody on this call is in Atlanta. And so part of this is also talking about services that we have at other VAs too. So this is me, excuse me, and I am a co-coordinator. So I have, there's actually two of us in Atlanta, which is a treat, and she is listening in. So Jennifer Packard is also on here. If you could go to the next slide. I'm hoping to just talk a little bit about the services that we have in VA for veterans who use intimate partner violence and who also experience intimate partner violence, and teach you how to connect with the programs and the resources. I think a lot of times our bureaucracy can be really difficult to manage. I don't think that, I actually know that from experience of being in the system for a very long time. And so I want to help you with that. And I want to sort of break some stuff down and make it a little easier. And of course, I welcome questions at any time. Next slide, please. So we have 3 VA systems in the state of Georgia. And so these are listed on the website. And I think that quote at the top is really great. And then I think the moment that anything gets published about numbers of veterans in Georgia, it is immediately inaccurate. And so the last count was that we had about 700,000 veterans in the state of Georgia. And I believe that worked out to be the percentage of about 6 or 7% of the entire state population. And so what we know about this is that it is growing exponentially, and not every veteran goes to the VA. So that's another thing. It is an option, but it is not a requirement. But our VA population is expanding. Some VAs around the country are actually seeing their population dwindle. That is not a problem at any Georgia VAs. In fact, we are seeing it grow a lot. And so along with the 3 main healthcare centers or hospitals in the state, so those are located in Augusta, Decatur, and Dublin. We also have outpatient clinics, and these are listed here, and this is not all of them. The list was too long on one screenshot. And so it's useful to kind of know what's in your area. Typically, when we're talking about these outpatient clinics, they don't offer all of the same services as the larger facility does, but they are tied together. So they call the main healthcare system the parent facility. And so these clinics would be tied together and coordinated together. But a veteran is typically able to get basic primary care and usually some mental health care at the outpatient clinic and some other services. But it's very dependent on population in that area. The other really interesting thing to notice is that the VA, being federal, does not always stick to state boundaries. And so what that means is we have some outpatient clinics located in Georgia that are actually tied to facilities in Alabama, in Florida, and in South Carolina. And so, for example, we have an outpatient clinic at Fort Benning, and that is actually not in any Georgia VA hospital catchments, it's in Alabama's. So just kind of something interesting to know about our system. Next slide, please. So here is an interesting breakdown of the population density for veterans. And if you can sort of see on this quick map of where the most veterans are. And if you are familiar with our military bases, you know that the highest density is located where these are. And so we've got Fort Benning in the southwest line. We've got Fort Stewart, and I believe we have a Navy base down there, which I'm Kings Bay. So just kind of some important data about, where our veterans are located. And then why we're talking about intimate partner violence. No, you're good, Jamila, one more. You read my mind, thank you. So I know that this panel probably is aware of the general population statistics that 1 in 3 women experiences intimate partner violence throughout the lifetime. And that's on a spectrum of behaviors from stalking, harassment, assault. And so over the course of the lifetime, a spectrum of behaviors. General population, 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 men. We believe that the veteran population has twice that. We're still collecting the data and the numbers, but the reason we believe that is located, next slide, please, Jamila, to the ACEs and to the very preliminary reports that we have. There's actually 2 clicks here, if you could, Jamila. So again, we're screening for both veterans that use intimate partner violence and have experienced, and knowing that there is a population in the middle that is both. And we're still very early on those numbers. And so what we know is active duty eventually will turn into a veteran, right? Either through retirement or another way to get out of the service. And so just having some awareness over these numbers that this population has a lot of violence, and there's a lot of reasons for that. There's a lot of different variables that add into that. One more click if you wouldn't mind. So 40% of women veterans are reporting experiencing IPV, and 27% of men. So just kind of some good statistics to have in mind. And if you could hit that next slide for me, please. Again, I think I'm speaking to an audience that is aware of all the behaviors that are included in intimate partner violence, but it bears repeating that it is on a spectrum, emotional, sexual, physical abuse, and then also stalking. Next slide. And so why one of the reasons that we think that there's higher prevalence of intimate partner violence is because of the adverse childhood events. And for those of you who don't know, this is a checklist that I think there's like 19 or 20 things on it. And the more adverse childhood events you have, the more likely you are to develop PTSD and experience a whole bunch of other consequences. And so what we know is that veterans have usually on average about 4 more on that checklist than non-veterans. And we know that higher, what they call ACEs, higher ACEs in veterans are associated with greater substance use, obesity, PTSD, homelessness, physical and mental health. And so we're really trying to treat this as the public health issue that it is, right? It's not just violence in the moment, it's how it impacts your health over the lifetime. The other thing that may be unique to our population is the experience of military sexual trauma. So again, as soon as something is published, it is likely inaccurate, because this is saying 1 in 4 women veterans experience military sexual trauma, and that's actually reports. So we have a higher number just based on they're not reporting. And we think it's about 1 to 3% of male veterans. And so again, another variable that sets them up to be in these intimate partner violence situations. And sometimes, but not always, the military sexual trauma could also be intimate partner violence. So there may be some overlap there. Perfect, thank you. So at the Atlanta VA and at every VA in the country, the goal is to eventually screen every veteran for intimate partner violence annually. What we know about this is women who have talked to their provider about, who have answered questions about intimate partner violence are 4 times more likely to use an intervention. So there's something about just answering those questions that increases the likelihood of doing something about it. We know that women are, I think that one is women, yeah, are 2.6 times more likely to exit that relationship just by the virtue of having to talk about it. And so that's a pretty easy intervention, just to have a nurse in primary care sit and say, hey, we want to talk about relationship health and safety. And then people are making changes just by the virtue of saying something about it. Next slide. So of course, we're the VA, so we don't do anything without a lot of data and push behind it. And so we are trying to screen in primary care, although we're willing to screen anywhere that the veteran pops up. We have research that says that patients think that their healthcare providers should screen for domestic violence and intimate partner violence. We have research that says providers can discuss abuse and violence in context to all the other health issues, whether it's physical health, mental health care, or anything else. And universal screening is supported by all of these agencies, right? By task force recommendations, Health Resource and Service, CDC, and the United States Preventative Task Force. I will also say that the VA is doing more screening than my own medical team. And that is probably the case for most of us. So with all of this data and with all of this information, next slide, please. The VA has been, okay, yes, I will work on that, Peggy. So with all of this information, the VA has been slowly building the Intimate Partner Violence Assistance Program. You know, the way things build at the federal level is at a glacial pace. And so we have, you know, all the way back to 2012, starting this conversation and moving more towards an established program. So the policy, or excuse me, the directive was not published until 2019 for the Intimate Partner Violence Assistance Program. And that is, you know, baby years for the VA and for any federal agency. And so this program continues to be new and being rolled out, right? It's very active. It's very in its infancy for sure. And what the Directive 1198 establishes is that every medical center needs to have a point person. We need to have an Intimate Partner Violence Assistance Program coordinator that serves as the subject matter expert on this topic. And so that means anytime this comes up in the healthcare system, they are reaching out to us to talk about this. We are responsible for training providers. We are responsible for talking to veterans. We are responsible for consulting with providers, like mental health providers, on how to treat this, how to document this, and what sort of interventions to use. Like I said at the beginning, Atlanta is fortunate in that we have 2. And most facilities have 1. That is because Atlanta is so big. We see a very large population of veterans, and we also have the largest women's health clinic in the entire VA system. We see the most women. So the Atlanta VA sees over 25,000 women a year enrolled in our women's health clinic, which exceeds by a long shot any other VA. And so by the numbers, Atlanta gets 2 coordinators. So a little bit more about the program, if you want to click for me, please. So like I was saying, you know, we are in the system to raise awareness, train the staff, building community partnerships. That's why I've been emailing April. and building up our resources. We want to make this smooth for veterans, and that includes veterans that show up in your facilities, in your courtrooms, and then also, connecting them outside of the VA, because we just do not have the resources, and we know that veterans live in these communities, and so we want to serve and connect them with all that. So we serve veterans who have experienced IPV. So that again is that screening, annual screening. And we also serve veterans who use IPV and want to change. So that's the little caveat there. They want to change, not having to, part of our group is that it's their choice. And then we also, another interesting thing is we serve VA staff. So any VA staff that is in an intimate partner violence situation, we want to assist them too. And we do that in a confidential way. They don't have to be a veteran. They can just be VA staff, and we will offer those resources. Next slide, please. We are big on the trauma-informed care principles. My previous job at the VA was the trauma therapist, trauma and substance use therapist. And so that is how I moved into this place. Again, I think there's probably some knowledge about what this is in this population. But I will say, it starts with that safety. And so asking permission, transparency, collaboration, working on their goals, not working on what I think you need to do, but rather, here are your options. What is the best fit for you? Social work, I'm a social worker by training. The program is based in the social work service line. And so we're always focusing on strengths. We're always focusing on resilience. We are really trying to meet them with their cultural, historical, and gender issues, whatever that may be. And we are staying recovery oriented and person centered. And so again, we don't mandate, we don't make anybody do anything. We're here when you're ready. Next slide. So I've included the screen that we are sending through primary care, or through anywhere, but mostly primary care. I think it's helpful to just kind of have some context about how detailed we are getting on this. And so there are two parts to the screen. There's the primary screen and there's the secondary part of the screen. If they endorse anything on primary, it kicks them into the secondary. If they go through all of these questions and it's never, then thank you, Veteran Smith. We appreciate you answering these questions about relationship health and safety, and we'll be asking them again next year. And so, it's usually an LPN, but again, it could be anybody who is trained in this can ask these questions. So this is part one, and then part two, if you want to get to that one, Jamila. And so, or excuse me, this is still part one. And then next screen again. And so this is, if they have answered one of those as yes, then we would ask these next questions. Has the IPV behavior increased? Have they choked or strangled? Do you think your partner may kill you? And so these are the ones that sort of get at the severity and the increased danger. And these are the ones where my partner and I are alerted, especially if there's choking and strangling. We know that you're at increased risk for homicide. And so we want to have that conversation in a very gentle way and talk about your options. Next slide, please. And so we can't ask these questions without having a plan, right? That would be really dangerous to ask every veteran these questions and then send them on their way. And so along with training the provider who is asking these questions, we want to train them to offer just general education about why they're asking these questions, right? The impact of health, of violence on health. And then we want to provide resources. And so we do provide the National Domestic Violence Hotline. We do provide local resources, and then we do provide our contact informations. We are training mental health providers on doing safety planning. We are trained and also eventually going to train other providers to do the relationship health and safety assessment. And so this is a tool that we go through with the veterans to just talk about their history, again, bringing some things into light so they can kind of get that bird's eye view of their relationship history and some insight and knowledge. If necessary, looking at their danger assessment, and then the strength at home group, which is what April was alluding to a little earlier, and we'll talk more about that. And then we have a RISE intervention, which is an individual intervention. We can refer them to services at the VA. So we do have a lot of great mental health services, and so we can plug them in. Next slide, please. So the strength at home group, this is virtual now, thanks to the pandemic. And this is an evidence-based trauma-informed group treatment for veterans who use violence and want to change. This is not the same as the community family violence program. This is not state certified, although veterans have been successful in getting this. We have a flyer for this and getting this flyer to judges, and judges have allowed them to participate in our program in lieu of the community program. So that's, it is 12 weeks, 2 hours a group, and then also between session work. It is free to veterans who are eligible for VA services, and we run this at all of the VAs in the Georgia catchment, so all over the country, but especially Georgia. Lots of interesting research behind it. I won't bore you with it, but it is really exciting, and lots of it on YouTube for promotional purposes. Next slide, please. And so this is also a unique service that we have in Atlanta, but not just Atlanta. And this is for people who have experienced violence. And this is an individual, again, evidence-based trauma-informed therapy to work on those patterns and how we keep ending up in these situations, right? And so to help, again, strength-based to get out of that. Very time limited, tight and controlled, and a dose of treatment, usually along with other mental health treatment. Next slide, please. The VA website actually is really good on this. I know it's hard for me to hide my surprise on that, but they've got a lot of really great videos and just definitions, and including the strangulation PDF, which I have shared a lot of times. And so I encourage people to look through it. I encourage veterans to look through it. A lot of times people will come to me and say, I had no idea, like this has been happening, but I did not know that was violence. I just knew it didn't feel right. And so I think that can be really validating to see your experience in writing on a public facing website. And so I share that with you to feel free to share along. Next slide, please. This is how to reach us. If you do want to make a referral, if you do have a question, this is, again, I am stationed in Atlanta, but I am connected to Dublin, Augusta, and Cavix in Central Alabama. So we have a shared email. We have a shared phone number. My partner is Jennifer Packard. We're available to consult, to partner, to take referrals. So just for some awareness. The next one, please. I think it's helpful to have these national numbers. A lot of times people don't know how to access the VA or the VA services or what they even are. And so, you know, number one, healthcare is not the same as benefits. A lot of times veterans will get those two things confused. And so it's helpful to know that healthcare is a benefit, but is not the same as the benefits portion. And we have a very loose connection, but we are not fully integrated or connected, pros and cons on that one. And so if a veteran has questions about their eligibility, about their benefits, their best bet is to call the 800 number or talk to somebody from the Georgia Department of Veterans Services. Every county and every state has to have people who are trained in benefits, and they are the most knowledgeable. As a social worker, my go-to is always referring them to there. And so I encourage veterans to do that, get the most of your benefits, whether it's educational, voc rehab, healthcare service connection, et cetera. That's going to be your best bet. Of course, we have the Veterans Crisis Line. Although these are national numbers, the Veterans Crisis Line, the healthcare, the benefits, and the homeless program, they will always link you with your local site. And so even though these are 800 numbers, please know that they will always say, where are you, and get you connected to that site. The VA homeless program, and then also the Veterans Justice Outreach, which is located under the VA homeless program. And so this is a team of social workers that help veterans who are coming out of jail, coming out of prison, and getting connected with VA healthcare. And that could include homeless resources, but it could also include treatment, benefits, et cetera. And so just another kind of really great resource we have that people don't know about. And I forgot to put on here the women's clinic number, but we do have an 800 number for women's clinic on our website. And so just, again, really great information that's available. Next slide, please. So I have only been in this role for 6 months. And so I haven't had a ton of experience interacting with the community. The pros and cons that I've had, one, these county crisis hotlines are answered very quickly. And so that is awesome. I do pre-calls before I send a veteran to one of them because I want to ensure that the number is accurate and that they serve usually men. And then I also partnered with the Georgia Coalition for Domestic Violence on their Stand with Survivors Day last month, and that was incredible. Yes, you may have a copy of this presentation. The challenges that we have had that I have observed in 6 months is our Strength at Home program is not certified. And so sometimes veterans call us and they're not happy about that. Not much we can do about that. The other challenge, this is a newish program. And so sometimes people inside the VA aren't aware of it because they don't read their daily emails that I send out routinely. And then certainly there is a lot of lack of community awareness, of course, which is why I'm so thrilled to be here. We have some programmatic limitations. Sometimes we get calls that we need to put somebody in a safe house right now. We don't have a budget. We don't have a safe house. We rely on the community for that. And so, I think people think, oh, VA, they'll fix everything. And I wish that were the case. Unfortunately, we do have some constraints around that. We do not do law enforcement. We cannot be responsible for that. The phrase in the VA is if you've been to one VA, you've been to one VA. And so some awareness that every VA is at a different stage of this rollout and has different services that they are implementing. And so some VAs are just further along. Some of them are a little more junior. And so some kind of awareness that Atlanta looks like Atlanta and Dublin looks like Dublin, but they should have the same foundation. I'm available for questions. I see a couple of them coming into the chat, and certainly, yes, you may have my presentation. That is why there are links for those phone numbers in there. And yes, I see a hand up. Do you want me to moderate this or does somebody else do that?
I will moderate. Right now is not, if you're not a commission member, there is no discussion, but any commission members who have a comment and anybody else who has a comment from the presentation, please fill out the or follow the procedure in the chat, and you will be able to address your comment in the public comment section of the meeting. But at this time, any commission members have any discussion related to this presentation or any questions for Elizabeth?
April, I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say what an excellent presentation, what great information. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll just say for the record, Elizabeth, just out of the blue, I got an email from her in January, and I responded and wasn't sure, was not sure who she was or what it was, but we responded and as I always do, and we started a dialogue, and I realized very quickly that this was an amazing resource that we needed to know about and that we need to be partnering with the VA on what they're doing. So Elizabeth and I have been in touch, and I am really excited. One of the things I want to really point out and highlight from our conversations is just the courts. Right now, judges, some judges, according to Elizabeth, may or may not know about their Safe at Home program for the veterans who use violence. It's very similar to our FVIP structure, and Elizabeth and Jamila will be connecting to work closer together on the FVIP component of what the VA is doing. But the great thing about it is the VA, with all their vast resources of the federal government, are able to offer that free of charge to veterans. And that's always been something as a commission that we wish we had the ability to do, is to offer FVIP services to people who obviously need that, but who are indigent or financially struggling to be able to get FVIP free of charge. And so they have that structure in place. As I understand it, some judges or some courts actually refer, if they have a veteran before their court and they know about this resource, will refer them to that program rather than to general FVIP, which I totally think is appropriate, given their ability to give those veterans that service for free. So that's a great thing to know. And the other thing is just to really emphasize her point about service to male survivors when they get them. It's always been a challenge in the growing area of men who experience intimate partner violence. But to make sure that we have resources that she and anybody who encounters male victims can refer them to. So she is looking to build relationships with the domestic violence organizations and agencies like the Georgia Coalition Against Domestic Violence and us, to help her have those relationships and really spread the word about her need to have available resources for men in particular, but men and women that she can easily refer. So Elizabeth
And
Baines,
gender and minority veterans too.
and correct, absolutely. Gender, non-binary, and other individuals, regardless of your gender identity. So,
which is a whole nother presentation, but we at the VA see a lot of gender and non-binary for a lot of other fascinating reasons, but I won't give you all that data right now.
but it's good to know. And at the end of the day, anybody who approaches and has a need should get resources. And so our goal is to help her by giving this presentation, expand her reach and her network of resources. So I hope you were able to get her information. Anybody, all the commission members, I sent this out to you a couple of days ago. And if you didn't get it or can't find it for whatever reason, I can resend it. Anybody else who did not receive it and is interested, I do have this presentation available for you if you just want to reach out and let us know. I see a few people have mentioned it in the chat, and I will make a note and get you a copy of the presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your assistance, and thank you so much for allowing me to have the mic. And I do look forward to connecting with you guys, questions, veterans, issues, here to help. The Atlanta VA is really big, so use an in when there is one.
Elizabeth, might I suggest that you get this information? I don't know if you can attend, but at least get some brochures or something about the Strength at Home program to the judicial training. Superior Court judges are trained twice a year at the winter conference and a summer conference. Also, if you haven't already, to try to get this information to the public defenders, because I think that the Office of Public Defender's office could really use this information, because there are a lot of obviously if there are family violence related crimes, they are required to do the FVIP, and maybe if it is a veteran and they have this information, they could convince the judge to allow the Strength at Home program in lieu of the FVIP program. I know April and I spoke earlier this year, and as good as the FVIP program is, they're really, if judges were doing what they're supposed to do and ordering the FVIP program in every situation that they should be ordering it in, there really aren't enough FVIP providers and courses to accommodate that. So if judges understand when they're supposed to do it, and that this Strength at Home program exists for veterans and it would be free of charge for them, then I think they would be more likely to allow that in lieu of the FFIP program. And I think the key would be not only educating the judges, but also educating the public defenders.
If you have contacts, I'm happy to reach out to any of those.
Elizabeth,
The only stipulation is if they're eligible for VA services, and that is a changing dynamic. But most veterans are eligible for VA services, and
Right.
if they're not, they can usually appeal that and get more information from the benefits portion.
Elizabeth, I'll work with you to get you those contacts. We have contact with the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers and with the Judges Associations. But that's a great suggestion, Judge Williford. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I'm willing to take any feedback, who else I should talk to, and yeah. My email is on there, phone number, reach out.
Judge Morris is also commenting that this would be helpful to the accountability court. She has an accountability court program that she's running, and it's doing very well. So this is obviously great information for accountability courts as well.
Yeah. And I don't know where you guys are located, but again, we have these services in Dublin, Augusta, and all over. So, and it's virtual. So.
Excellent. Any other comments, questions, commission members? All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Thank you. And so I'm good to sign off, and you and Jamila will email me and we'll.
Yep, we'll get in touch and follow up with you, and anybody who's willing to contact you, we'll make sure they have your presentation and or share your contact information.
And Peggy McCoy Wilson, I will be looking up the ACEs and seeing if I can get that to you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Very nice to meet you. Look forward to collaborating. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Okay, our next item on the agenda is governance, and I'm going to turn that over to April. This area takes care of, it's going to talk about new positions, new members on our commission. And so April, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. So we have some business that we need to attend to this meeting. Earlier this year, within the last month or so, I received a note from our chair, Stephanie Woodard. She has announced her desire to step down. She's got lots to focus on, but I want to just say that Stephanie has provided tremendous leadership to the commission for many years, and we are very grateful for the effort and the time she's put in. And so I do want to commend her and give her, I know she's not here today, but I do want to take the time to commend and thank her for her service to the commission and her dedication and commitment to helping us to do our job and fulfill our mission. So with that, as at her resignation from the chair seat, Judge Whitaker, who was serving as vice chair, became the interim chair per the bylaws. But what we need to do today is elect new officers. So technically, our bylaws state that we should be having elections every 2 years, which I think the pandemic and then me transitioning in around 3 years ago probably led to that not happening. But we are going to rectify that today. So with that, I would like to entertain a motion. Judge Whitaker has expressed her desire and her willingness to serve as chair. So I will entertain a motion to elect Judge Paige Whitaker as the new chair for the commission.
Motion, Barbara Neville.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded by Michelle Bedingfield. Any discussion? Any other nominations? All right, with no further discussion, I will entertain a vote for Judge Paige Whitaker to serve as the new chair for the commission. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, so Judge Whitaker is successfully been elected as the new chair for the commission. And now I would like to move to the position of vice chair. I have worked on or had some conversations with our commission member, Charles Sperling. He has expressed his willingness to accept a nomination for vice chair. And at this time, are there any additional nominations for the position of vice chair? Okay, hearing none, I will now entertain a motion to elect Charles Sperling as vice chair for the commission. All right, any
I'll
second?
second.
All right.
I'll second.
Who was the second? I didn't see.
That was Peggy. It's me.
Okay, all right, so I have a move. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain the vote. All in favor, express by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please vote now, express by saying nay. All right, it's been properly, or I'm sorry, she's been, sorry, Charles. It has been voted and decided, so Charles Sperling will now serve as the new vice chair for the commission. All right, now we'll move finally to the position of secretary. Are there, I have one, I think Peggy McCoy Wilson has expressed her willingness to continue serving should no one else express a nomination. She has now, I will say for Peggy's benefit, she has served admirably for a long time now, and she has done a great job. And the secretary position isn't easy, but we do our best at the commission to lighten the load, just so you know. So if anyone else, I had not received any other nominations via email. So if there's any other will nominate, and you can nominate another person, you can put someone on the spot. I'm happy to enjoy that moment if you would do so. So if there are any other nominations for secretary before I put forward Peggy Wilson, please state at this time. Sorry,
Everybody
Peggy.
speak at once now. So, well, April, we discussed this yesterday and we thought this was the way it was going to go. And April has promised me and offered some additional help in getting the minutes together, which is probably the most complicated part of that. Thanks to Otter, it makes it much easier for me to do that. So if there's not anybody else, I will continue on for 2 more years.
Okay.
Which will have put me, so real quick, like that will have put me on the commission for 10 years at that time.
Yep. So
Thank you, Peggy.
yes. So we will now put forward Peggy Wilson for the position of secretary. Do I have a motion to nominate Peggy Wilson? All right, any second? Okay, Judge Morris has put forth the motion. Any second?
Second, Judge Bishop.
Okay, Judge Bishop, second. All right, any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, I will now entertain, I'm sorry, I keep going backwards. All in favor, please express by saying aye.
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 The opposed, express by saying nay. All right, it has now been passed. Judge, I'm sorry, I am all over the place, you guys. It is quite a morning. Anyway, Peggy, you are now elected to serve as the not new, but continuing secretary for the commission for another 2 years. Thank you so much for your willingness to serve. All right, we now have our new executive board. Judge Whitaker, Charles Sperling, Peggy Wilson, thank you all so much. I look forward to working with you. And we can now move on to other business, which I will probably do because Judge Whitaker unfortunately was in a jury trial this morning and could not attend at the last minute. So she expresses her apologies for being unable to make it today, but I will proceed in her absence.
Hello, lovely.
Hello. Okay.
Wait. Hold on.
All right, so moving on to other business. I do want to talk briefly and I'm happy to entertain any questions and discussion about the retreat that I have mentioned on several occasions and give you an update on that progress. I now have a set of dates or a date proposed for that. We will be looking at June the 2nd, that's a Friday. And so we're also looking at Little Okmulgee State Park as the location. I say looking at because until the ink is dry on the contract, anything can happen. So for the moment, it is looking at June 2nd for our strategic planning offsite retreat and at Little Okmulgee State Park, which is just outside of Macon, as I understand. So sort of central, we aimed for something that wasn't going to be too far for most. So with that, I'll say that the plan is to have a full day strategic planning meeting and also some activities as well as to discuss and give assignments for some commission committees. We have a set of committees that we are looking to, or Judge Whitaker has agreed that we probably need, because there's certainly the commission staff does a ton of work and they are a tremendous asset to this agency in terms of the load that they lift. But we do have a need for some commission input in several areas, and we'd like to set that up and get that moving. And I'm looking for it now. I just lost my page. I have a million tabs open, you wouldn't believe. But let me minimize this screen and go to the page, and I will share with you now what those committees are. Give me one moment. I've moved away from the tab. Here we are. All right. So the commission committees that we're looking to assign during this retreat, and this is sort of FYI, and absolutely, if you hear and know that this is something you can provide leadership and expertise, and you can send me an email, and I'll be happy to kind of go on and notate that assignment. So the first committee is the Fatality Review Committee. This is a group that will provide oversight and editorial review for our publications that are proposed by the Fatality Review Project. As you know, this project has been going on for more than 15 years. It used to be a joint partnership with the coalition, but now the commission is sort of leading that, and we've revised sort of the structure of it, and we use it it is a data-based, evidence-based focus. And so we do a lot of work and certainly have a need for some expertise in some of the areas that impact our data. So in the past, my understanding is commission members had been involved in fatality review reports and development, and somehow that tradition has been lost. So we're planning to now revive it. So we'll be looking for committee members to serve on the Fatality Review Committee. The next is a working group, and the difference between a committee and a working group, as you may be able to guess, is that a working group has more of a short-term assignment, and so the group dissolves upon completion of its task. And so at the moment, we are still in the throes of drafting revisions for the rules governing FVIPs. The last update to the rules was in 2019, and since that implementation, it's become to our attention that it's evident we need to address some further revision. Some of it is clarification, some of it is substantive change that we need to agree on. So this group will, again, dissolve at the conclusion of that revision and proposal process. The commission board as a whole will eventually get a chance to see the revisions and vote to approve them before they move through the remainder of the process and eventually get a formal adoption from the DCS board. And so if you're interested in that, please let me know. I can also send commission members more information about the steps in this process and sort of where we are. But we definitely are in need of some commission support with the FFIP rule revisions. The next is the Strategic Planning Committee. This is a permanent committee that will be tasked with reviewing on an annual basis our state plan mission, our programmatic focus, and the goals of the commission. They'll provide feedback with us, to us, and they'll kind of work in tandem with the legislative committee to keep us on track with our legislative charge and our strategic plan to keep them in alignment. So you'll be responsible for reviewing, giving feedback and updates to our strategic plan. And I'll share that plan with everybody on the commission in an email, so you guys can see what we already are, our starting point, basically. We do submit our strategic plan to the governor's office. So anyway, that's the Strategic Planning Committee. The next is the Governance Committee, which is an oversight committee. This committee really primarily just ensures proper flow of the meeting, structure and guidelines for our quarterly commission meetings and any other required engagements that the commission does, and would be the committee responsible for keeping us on track for things like the election, so that I would not be running future elections. The commission members, you all will be would be responsible technically and should be the ones managing the elections. So that will be the Governance Committee's responsibility. The next is one that you already know is well in existence and actively moving. This is the Conference Planning Committee. We always announce and elect or appoint, really the chair typically is appointing the commission members that are serve as the co-chairs of the conference committee. But we also technically have a need for additional commission members to help and volunteer with the actual conference planning. In particular, we have a working group that reviews our proposals for workshops. And then we certainly could use help at times during the actual conference with volunteers. So that is an opportunity to serve. And I will take this moment to announce briefly, I don't think we announced it during the conference report, but I've just identified our two co-chairs for the 2023 conference. And so hopefully they aren't going to be embarrassed by me going and calling them out, but Judge Cindy Morris and Chief Christine Hudson will serve as our co-chairs for this conference year. And finally, we have our legislative committee, obviously another committee that's active and already in existence. You know its purpose, but we have two co-chairs currently for the committee, but we need some assistance from other members of the commission who have, an ability to help us with working out our legislative agenda and priorities. One of the things that happens, obviously the commission members vote when we have either our September or December meeting, once we've had our roundtable, our policy roundtable. But after that vote, sometimes things come up in the midst of the session and we can't, call a commission meeting or have the whole commission weigh in. And so at times like that, I will either reach out to and try to get in touch with our legislative co-chairs and our chair. So we certainly need committee members that can give input and advice in that process, especially when we're in the midst of session. And at times we also need help finding people who are willing and able to give testimony. And sometimes that requires some brainstorming on finding someone. Judge Whitaker has been a gem on many occasions with coming and testifying or lending her ability to provide, guidance. She doesn't, testify or provide any, direct lobbying on the item, but she will provide information, factual information in testimony. So we certainly need people that can help with that effort. And so that is the list of committee assignments that we'll be looking to fill over the coming months and finally in the strategic planning retreat. So that is the update on the retreat. June 2nd, I will send out that final information via email and information on if you would like to come overnight If you, to get there rather than driving down that morning, there's a room block available for commission members that we're able to secure as well. So we are continuing to plan that. If you also, last thing, I promise for now, if you are interested in helping to plan the agenda for the commission meeting portion of that retreat, I'd be happy to get some input. We have some things already in the works, but would love some commission member input on the things that you all would like to see or that you think are important to have at that retreat for our discussion. I think this is the first time we'll have done something like this in quite a long time. So it'll be a great opportunity to sort of reignite and reengage and get us back on track with our action and our work on these committees. So with that said, that is all on the other business regarding the retreat.
Hey, April, thank you so much. That was a lot of information, and I'm excited about what we have, the things we have coming. I hope everybody else is. So we're going to move over to our commission staff updates, and I'm going to turn that over to April. And
okay,
okay,
I
April.
promise you will probably you'll get a break from my voice in just a minute, but I want to take the time to do something that's really exciting and introduce our new staff member. We have, I think I've told you all already about our new grant. The Firearms Technical Assistance Program has awarded us funds to launch our Firearms Lethality Alert Georgia program. And I'm happy to announce that Jackie Herrera is our coordinator for this grant and this project. And I'll give Jackie, before we get into the staff members, a chance to dive in and introduce herself to the commission at this time.
Good morning, everyone. I am so very pleased to join you this morning as the newest member of the Georgia Commission on Family Violence. I have worked in the area of victim services for over 17 years now in various capacities. My background is in legal advocacy, case management, shelter operations, and grant administration. So I've done a little bit of everything throughout the years. I just came on board on the 16th of February, so I'm still working on settling in with the agency and outlining a draft for the direction of the project. But I do look forward to collaborating with many of you on this program. And I will put my contact information in the chat and welcome any questions that anyone might have for me at any time. What I would like is to put in the forefront discussions on the lethal combination between firearms and domestic violence in order to address limiting abuser access to firearms. So that, as well as, of course, enhancing victim safety, is going to be the main focus, so that we can look forward to seeing a decrease in fatalities. So again, I'm very happy to be a part of this project. And if anyone would like to contact me at any time, I'm happy to discuss this with you. Thank you.
Well, welcome, Jackie. Thank you so much. And we're excited to get this off the ground. This is an important step. You know, we can't obviously always move as quickly as we want legislatively, but we definitely know that this is an issue we have to address. All right, at this time, turning it over to Stacy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Stacy Selden. I'm the statewide family violence coordinator, and I provide technical support to our task forces around the state. I'm going to give you some task force updates. They've begun their 2023 activities, which are including task force leadership elections, transitions, and also working on individual task force goals for the year. I provided in my report a snapshot of the current goals, accomplishments, and technical assistance requests around the state. I'm going to give you a high level, I'm not going to go over each one, but I'm going to give you a high level overview of the goals and accomplishments and technical assistance requests. So some of the 2022 accomplishments for task forces around the state was they held a safe family fair, DV kickoff event, and raised funds for the local domestic violence organization. Another task force held their annual conference, increased discipline diversity, and had all in-person meetings. Task forces are still transitioning from virtual and hybrid to in-person meetings. Other task forces partnered with schools and developed an outreach video during Teen Dating Violence Month. A lot of task forces are starting to make inroads with the schools, which is very difficult. So that's great news. They're also educating their partners through lunch and learn sessions. And then one task force is attempting to revitalize and was excited that some judges actually joined the effort. And other task forces are working on recruitment strategies to recruit officers and members for the task force. So that's some 2022 accomplishments. So goals for 2023 that task forces want to accomplish are developing stronger relationships with attorneys, paramedics, clerks, DHR, and daycare programs. They want to do more training and more outreach for teen dating violence. Another task force wants to support and strengthen its support for survivors of murder-suicide committee. And then another task force wants to enhance its visibility and expand its conference and enhance DV awareness as well. A couple of technical assistance requests that I have received were, as usual, task forces want to know how to recruit new members and increase participation. That's a request I get every year. So definitely working with task forces around the state on that. And task forces are trying to get more into social media and using social media and other technology tools to spread their mission and to reach more families. We do have some upcoming task force training planned. We have a training coming up May 17th. It's a virtual training. It's entitled Cultivating Justice: How to Build and Sustain Coordinated Community Response Teams That Yield Results. So that's going to be offered to all task forces around the state. And the training will be conducted by 2 national technical assistance providers that have expertise in coordinated community response, Erica Olson and Julie German. They've also presented at our annual conference in the past. Our staff is also developing and planning several regional task force summits. So I'm working closely with Kylie Elliott and Carolyn and Summer on these summits. And so these trainings are going to be in person over the next few years, and we hope to cover the entire geographical area of the state. So we're in the process of developing those, and that's very exciting. And then I've also provided a list of the task forces and the circuits that don't have task forces in your report. There are about 10 circuits that do not have task forces. So please review those. And if you have any contacts in those areas, please reach out to me. And thank you.
All righty, so I'll go next. I'm Jamila Farrell. I am the FIP supervisor here at the commission. So Nadej, Delva, and I are going to tag team our report. I want to keep it a little brief. So in January, the FIP team conducted an informational session on facilitator and provider recertification requirements. And the informational session had about 33 attendees. And we have scheduled additional information sessions for the remainder of the year. So if you are an FIP provider or facilitator on this call, it is in your best interest to attend these sessions just to make sure that you're kept abreast and aware of all the rules and what the changes are and what is required of you. And we have also scheduled some FIP rules sessions throughout the year. So we've done enough of them. So hopefully you all can catch one of them. And I do think that it should be something that FIP should want to do, because we have noticed that a lot of people don't know about some of the rules that we have and some of the requirements. So we want to make sure that everybody is on the same page and that, we don't run into any of the problems that we've been running into this year. We also conducted FIP Basics in February. It was successful. We had about 14 attendees, and the next training FIP Basics is scheduled for May 16th through the 18th. So you can still register for that. In February, the FIP team, along with the Fatality Review Project team, were invited to be guest speakers by ICJE as part of the Magistrate Court Judges Criminal Justice Criminal Certification in Athens, Georgia. The training provided key insights to new magistrate judges regarding GCFV, lethality assessments, and FIP. Also in February, the FIP team participated in the Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light panel on community revitalization. And we do have a few upcoming trainings that are located on our website. We do have a few sessions with Dr. Carolyn West that are open to the public. So please check those out. I'm going to turn it over to Nadej so she can discuss certification and monitoring and enforcement actions.
Good morning. My name is Nadej Delva, and as of February 1, 2023, there were 38 FIP providers and 49 FIP facilitators that completed their recertification. Unfortunately, 4 programs and 13 facilitators have ceased conducting FIP, and we wish those well, as we know that they have impacted their community. 5 providers and 16 facilitators did not submit recertification applications by the deadline and are currently suspended. Providers with participants currently enrolled had to transfer them to certified FIPs, and the facilitators had to immediately cease facilitating classes. During the recertification process, it was discovered that a provider is operating without a current victim liaison and that the provider failed to send the participants' names to the victim liaisons. This is against FIP rules, and as a result, the FIP team is working with the legal department to issue a notice of deficiency and suspension to the provider. The FIP team is diligently revising the FIP rules to submit for review by the FIP subcommittee. The team is also revising FIP basics and developing new training for FIP providers. The FIP providers submitted their current class schedule, and the FIP team will be conducting site visits for providers as well as facilitators that have not had site visits within the last 2 years. And this concludes our FIP section.
Good morning, everyone. I'll be covering the update for the Family Violence Fatality Review Project, which includes my position, Family Violence Data Analyst, and Carolyn Brooks, the Fatality Review Project Coordinator. She is on vacation. We're in the process of finalizing fatality numbers for 2022. So far we have 131 fatal incidents, 172 fatalities. So from 2021 to 2022, that's a 19% decrease in fatalities. Then for murder-suicides, we had 38 murder-suicide incidents, 72 fatalities from those incidents, which is a 4% increase in domestic violence murder-suicide fatalities. 46 cases have been cleared from the watch list, and 31 cases are currently being tracked to determine whether or not they were DV fatalities. And 11 fatal incidents, 13 fatalities identified that occurred in years previous to 2022 have been added to the previous year totals. In terms of reports, the Family Violence Statistics and Trends in the State of Georgia 2018 to 2021 report is under review, and the special topic brief, Teen Dating Violence, is published and available on our website. For training, we conducted the Family Violence Foundations for primary care physicians in January, the Family Violence Lethality Indicators for FVIPs in February, and the Family Violence Foundations for magistrate judges in March. The conference proposal, From Numbers to Practice, Evidence-Based Family Violence Response, has been accepted at 3 national conferences. And lastly, for family violence data, this year we fulfilled 10+ data requests for various external partners providing statewide and local information over the past decade on DV-related fatalities and incidents, including police outcomes and cause of death. We continue in the process of analyzing the 150,000 new individual family violence incident reports and await a new data drop from the GBI. Our analysis has yielded interesting insights into the factors that most correlate with increased lethality and specific police outcomes, which we hope to explore in our upcoming publications. Lastly, we continue to look into new data sources and data management systems, as well as opportunities to streamline the data request process and share more family violence data directly on our website. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Kylie Elliott, the Support for Survivors of Murder-Suicide Project Coordinator. I'm happy to report to you guys all about this project. As Summer shared with you when she provided her data updates, as you heard, while the total number of murder-suicide related events had a slight decrease from 2021 to 2022, the total number of fatalities related to murder-suicide still represented an increase. So overall, we're still, over the last couple of years, having a significantly greater number of Georgians impacted by murder-suicide in our state, which requires a very significant response. Over the last quarter, and we are meeting that response over the last quarter, I provided over 400 services, referrals, and units of support to 58 new and existing survivors of murder-suicide, which are really significant numbers, having a great impact on survivor healing and connecting them with necessary services. Another way we're meeting the needs of our survivors is through the Georgia Murder-Suicide Response Network. We're continuing to grow that network. As of now, we have now increased from 38. We are now at 44 trained and licensed clinicians that are participating in part of that referral network, meeting monthly, discussing best practices and how we can meet the needs of survivors. Additionally, we are completing currently about halfway through the last for 2023 training of an additional 10 clinicians. This will be our 5th training cohort of the restorative retelling training that's being provided by our national trainer, Connie Saindon, on restorative retelling. That will bring our number to approximately 54 licensed clinicians that are blanketing the entire state with services. So we're seeing kind of a swell of therapeutic services available to survivors. I host monthly meetings with them, and we really have a great network going. In 2023, we hosted 3 very successful murder-suicide support groups using the restorative retelling model. We're starting to see some really encouraging data come out of those groups that we'll be able to report on in the near future as we continue to take a look at the success of this project. But the initial analysis is very positive, and we are now working on forming the next group, which will be starting in approximately 1 month. We will have services. Those services are available via Zoom for any survivors in the state of Georgia, and actually survivors maybe that actually reside now in Florida are also eligible to participate in that groups. We're very excited to be able to start expanding services as we get clinicians that have additional and extra licensures that are allowing us to do that. So thank you for that, your time, and this concludes my report.
All right, I'm Nikki Lemeshka. I'm the program manager at the commission. So I will keep my report a little bit brief since everybody has done such a thorough job on what's happening on our programs. But I did want to update everyone that I know I did a presentation a couple of meetings ago around some preliminary findings of the partnership project that we had with the U.S. Attorney's Office, that several people in the room were able to participate in. On our Project Safe Neighborhoods grant. We had put together a report called Family Violence and Firearms in Georgia, and that has currently been released. It's available on our website, and I believe was provided to the commission members in their email, but I will drop that link in the chat in just a minute. Also, as you heard, we're really excited to have Jackie joining our team for the Firearms Technical Assistance Project, as we are one of the pilot sites for the nation for the next few years, one of 6 programs selected. So Jackie started, as she mentioned, on the 16th, and we're so excited to have her And as we've sort of started onboarding in this process and sort of getting into the nitty gritty of what the expectations are around this project, we have already started through the orientation process. The leadership team of myself, April, and in our fiscal office, who's also participated in some additional training. And then we are also in the preliminary stages of engaging in OVW's required culturally specific technical assistance consortium. So we'll be planning and scheduling some additional technical assistance training with them in the near future. So planning has also begun for training offered under our law enforcement education project for this year. Of course, we're still pending contract negotiations, but it is anticipated that we'll be offering full day regional trainings taking place in 6 locations around the state. The plan is that we're going to cover topics including lethality indicators, identification of the predominant aggressor, regional statistics, barriers to victim safety, addressing abuser access to firearms, and then also emerging issues and recent law changes. So really excited about that. And certainly, again, as I mentioned, still in the planning stages there. So if you are interested in potentially hosting a training in your region, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to drop my email in the chat as well once I wrap up. Also been very busy here with the year closing out to cover all of the grant related documents and reports that must be completed when we're ending grant cycles and starting new ones. So that's been keeping me really on my toes lately. But also just wanted to mention one thing. Any victim service providers in the room are probably familiar with this already, but we were one of the agencies who participated in a pilot project with CJCC called their Improve Initiative, which was related to tracking performance outcomes for victim service contacts. And we really had a great experience using that, some new methods to track victim outcomes sort of in a centralized database. So just wanted to mention that in hopes that that will be continuing into the future. Also been fortunate to attend numerous trainings and events since our last meeting. And again, just looking forward to getting back out to see many of you as this year progresses. And I'm happy to, be in contact with anyone if you have additional training needs or anything on the horizon. But that concludes my update.
All right. Thank you, Nikki. I'm back, everyone. Thank you so much to the team. It's been, I think I've already said this, tremendously busy. And these team members of mine have been working so hard on their projects and taking on so much. So I am always so grateful for them and for their work and their commitment and level of dedication. So I just want to say thank you to the team for everything right now. A few things I want to run through really quick, and then we'll be ready to wrap. The first is Stand With Survivors Day. So on February 14th, the commission partnered with GCADV and Men Stopping Violence and Ganessa, the Georgia Network to End Sexual Assault. On Stand With Survivors Day, it was a successful event. It was our first time back in person since before 2020. So everyone was really excited and everybody seemed to be happy to see each other again. It feels a lot these days, even still, now that we're even in 2023, sometimes feels odd because you're realizing you're seeing someone again for the first time in a few years. So it was a successful event. I do want to say thank you to Representative Ballinger, one of our commission members. She sponsored a resolution for Stand With Survivors Day that was read and announced on the floor of the House during their open session. And we are thankful to her always for her commitment and her work as a part of this commission. Also, Senator Kim Jackson and Representative Houston Gaines both participated in the event and came and spoke to the group. It was very inspirational. And again, people were very excited. So I want to thank everyone who helped contribute to the success of Stand With Survivors Day. Recently, I had an opportunity to partner with Equitas on a training for the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office. It was a 3-day training that was very successful. Equitas is a great partner. They bring national training and assistance to prosecutors and legal folks in the legal field. That is it's just really a phenomenal training. If you've not seen any of Equitas's work, you really should take advantage because they do great work. So I had that great opportunity. One of the things that came up, and I would love, again, if anyone has connections or relationships, we learned about a new disturbing trend in some law enforcement agencies where victims who are reporting sexual assaults are being asked before the officer takes the report to sign an acknowledgement that they know that reporting a false, making a false report is a crime. They have to sign that before they can report their sexual assault crime. And certainly that is disturbing on many levels, but it's also an opportunity for us to, again, use our partnerships and relationships to try to bring some training and influence there to hopefully stop that practice. Because certainly if you're doing that for sexual assault victims, but no other, people who are reporting any crimes, that speaks to the attitude that at least in the survivor's mind, that the officers may already have regarding whether they are willing to even believe that victim reporting a sexual assault. So that's something, if you have some experience or expertise or knowledge or information that can help us to address that, be happy to take it. I think it's been mentioned in some of the other areas that we have been partnering with NCJ, FCJ to bring some training to judges that we've been invited to bring. But I also want to announce that our 6-hour online multi-class of court has been scheduled. So ICJE formally extended a speaking invitation to us to do a 6-hour course. It's online. The course is scheduled for June 27th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. It is open to judges who are state court, magistrate court, probate court, municipal court, superior court. Any judges can attend. I don't know when they'll launch registration, but I would say that you can look at ICJE website to find registration information if you're interested in signing up. I would love to see some of our commission member judges in attendance. Our class is the family violence, basically training on family violence and domestic violence in the courtroom, how to recognize signs, and we're bringing a number of different topics. So I'm excited to do that. We'll be partnering with NCJ, FCJ again on that, and it's going to be a great experience. One thing that I want to bring up, and this was actually something that Judge Whitaker wanted to talk about, but and I also had a conversation with Peggy about it yesterday. But looking at the structure or the format of commission meetings going forward, I'll probably send out an email and ask for input via email. I don't know if we necessarily need to vote on it, but that's something that can be decided by the powers that be. But we've been obviously in a strictly online meeting format now for the last couple of years due to the pandemic. But prior to that, we were obviously in person for most of our meetings with the option for a call-in. We wanted to sort of put it out there to decide, do we want to go back to an in-person meeting structure? Do we want to do a mixture? I've talked to some agencies and heard that some are doing a mix where they have 2 a year that are in person, 2 a year that are fully virtual. That's an option to consider. Or we can continue with what we're doing now, which is continuing primarily virtual with the exception of the conference when we have a public meeting in person. So would love to get commission members to give me some input on the structure of the meeting going forward. And also for any in-person meetings outside of the one in the conference, we are certainly open to and need suggestions, recommendations, and connections for locations for those meetings. We like to move around the state so that not everyone has to travel a long way all the time since we're spread out. But we certainly can use recommendations for locations to have in-person meetings. I do want to give another update about appointments. I have been working actively with the Director of Appointments for Governor Kemp. We are right now focusing on 5 seats. These seats are vacant with one exception, but she's asked if she can be reappointed or get a new appointment. But we have 5 seats we're looking to fill, Judicial District 6, 8, and 10. We also have had one victim advocate seat that is now vacant. And we're looking for an elder abuse. Oh, well, I have actually a recommendation for that one. So if you have connections to court administrators or anybody in those districts, those judicial districts, or if you have a recommendation, somebody you know who would love to serve in one of those seats, please send that to me so I can provide that information to the Director of Appointments. So as far as the remaining, because I know many people, to Peggy's earlier point, have been on this commission and serving for many, many years beyond what our statutory guidelines say are typically the terms of appointment. And I will say for the record, we are certainly grateful for your willingness to continue serving beyond the expiration of your terms. But we obviously also don't want to do a mass transition off and on of new people. So we are looking for several people to be reappointed. In spite of having served you for 2 terms, I'll be reaching out individually, just so you know, for some of these conversations, but just putting it out there that we're certainly looking to do these in waves. So the first wave is to focus on our vacancies, and then I'll talk to the folks who I proposed for the next wave about timing and recommendations for that seat. So that is the update on appointments, because I know people have been asking. And that is, I think, everything that I needed to bring up. But I will throw in a fun little moment. And if Jamila will, oh, it's already there. So the picture in the screen is actually a little spot in Georgia, a little piece of beauty. And the first person to put in the chat where that is gets a small prize on behalf from the commission. So if you know where this is, the cherry blossom capital of the world in Georgia. Oh, Judge Williford, thank you. You are the winner. So yes, Macon, Georgia. And this is just, I just was scrolling through as I was getting the meeting together, and I was like, Georgia is just such a beautiful place. And so I may throw in these little treats from time to time, but yes, thank you. That is Macon, the cherry blossom capital of the world. I think that's the Pink Blossom Festival or something about pink.
It's a Cherry Blossom Festival.
Yeah, but there's something about it being really pink. I can't remember what it said. I was reading about it, but yes, the Cherry Blossom Festival is a beautiful, beautiful time in Macon. Yeah, the pink party.
Yes.
Pink party. That's it. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. Did not
It's
know
about
that.
one street over from where I'm sitting right now.
Beautiful. All right. We'll have to get down there and have a pink party with you guys, even though I normally wouldn't be seen in pink, but I can do it for Macon. But thank you all. So that concludes my reports.
Okay, thank you, April. Do we have any other comments, any public comments before we go close out our meeting?
We do have one, Maria Baca. I'm not sure if I'm saying your last name correctly.
Okay, Maria?
I was a little confused on the question, so if you could just, I don't know if you have, is it a public comment?
Yep.
Sorry, I confused for the inscription, and I now have a question with the sorry, my English is very bad. And when I speak with most people in English, I feel in the little stress.
Okay.
But Erika, ¿me puedes ayudar? ¿Le puedes decir que ya contestaron la pregunta que tenía?
Yeah, you already answered her question that she had.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Thank you.
And if you need to reach out at any time, you can always send us an email or give us a call. And we do have translation services. So that's anytime you need to reach out, you can.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Are there any more questions or comments? So in closing, I would just like to say one thing for y'all. It's a quote that I stroll around and look for quotes constantly that sometimes I usually put at the bottom of my emails. But this one, I think for us is a good one. It says, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. And that was the quote from Winston Churchill. So we know that as we do this great work, that we are not finished, and that if we can't get something done, it's not the end of the world, that we're going to continue on working hard. I've always enjoyed working with this group, this organization, and the commitment that the staff has and the commission members. So if there not being any other comments, we will close our meeting today at 11:57, and hope all of you have a great weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Happy Friday.
Thank you.